They took in anybody at all. It was an old missionary couple. They'd been missionaries on the Yakima Indian Reservation in Washington State. And they had a beautiful home that they built and gorgeous gardens. And they felt that God had called them to open their doors. You could see I think it's Highway 1 that goes from LA to San Francisco, past Big Sur and just this beautiful stretch of road. And all these young people hitchhiking. It was 1970 and everyone under 25 was searching for the answer to life. And they felt led to open their doors to anyone at all and not turn anyone away. So soon there were all these young men sleeping in their living room. All of us ate in the living room. Their kitchen was being used. Outbuilding, it was kind of in the country, was turned into the women's dormitory where women and children stayed, and vans and various other buildings were used for married couples as well as the bedrooms in the house. It was on 3 acres with 5 acres leased and 2 acres where they had the use of it. And these old buildings, and they were building a great big new building. And the first job I had was to do laundry for, I don't know if it was 33 or 50 some people. The old boyfriend was stationed about 3 hours away in the San Joaquin Valley where they were doing agricultural farm labor work as a crew. And Philip was a minister. He was ordained. I think he was ordained even before I got there. And he assumed he was the elder in charge on the main campus. We were married and we lived out at the ranch. It was a single family house in a row of about 14 single family houses for the people at the ranch. We had a family in each of the 4 bedrooms and single women and children in the living room. And at one time even a family in a van under the carport. We still had church several nights a week, still no TV, never needed it. The single brothers in our group were living in the bachelor quarters a couple miles down the road, but they were always over at our place. These children were coming over every day for Bible study, and I had John, and I was pregnant, and so I didn't have to work in the fields anymore. And I would make art projects, or we would act out the stories somehow. And there was a little girl, Zoraida, who would translate for me because most of the children were Hispanic and didn't speak English that well. I remember one time the powdered milk box became Queen Esther's castle, and each child made a character from the story, and I put them on sticks of some kind, and then we told the story together. I had 2 babies there, John and then Susie, and then we had to move. Our ministry had a little 20 by 8 foot trailer in a town a half hour away. Philip got a job there with that company at the packing shed, being a security person. Philip worked 60 hours a week, flip schedule, 6 to 6, days and nights every week. And we were able to turn in half of our income, 3 of those weeks to the main place until rent was due. Someone thought I wasn't supposed to drive the car, so I got an old coaster wagon at an antique type barn. I painted it white, and I put a Jesus Saves bumper sticker on it. And so I had those 2 babies. Susie had the colic. And we let Philip sleep, and we'd walk around town and get a cup of coffee or go to the Salvation Army thrift store. We got to know so many people. I had been wanting to play piano while we were at the ranch for about 2.5 years. And 2 doors down from us in a trailer was a pastor and wife. They had a church in an old theater building. I asked her if I could practice piano there. She said, we have had a piano for 2.5 years, but nobody to play it. So 4 times a week I played piano there. We were able to do nursing home services once a week. Philip was usually working. And I visited, there was like 23 churches in this little tiny town of 16,000 or so. And many of them were really eager when I'd come in for me to play piano. I worked with children there, neighborhood children. When we were at the ranch, I worked with the migrant children. About 7 or 8 of them put their trust in Jesus. I spent a lot of time in prayer and listening to Bible. Back then you could get Bible cassettes, and I'd listen to Alexander Scourby read the Bible to me, and going to all those church services and praying a lot and trying to raise my children to love the Lord and know Him. It's likely we were taking in 800 to 1,000 people a year, largely at our own expense. There were about 33 of us stable adults that were managing everything. And Philip was a minister. He was ordained. He was the elder in charge on the main campus. So he did everything from handing blankets out to leading church services many times to the daily Bible study, helping people as they volunteered for chores during the day. I was the head of the women's group for a while, and I did community relations and different things like that. I advocated for people if we felt they were safe people and their children had been taken from them. And Philip did the services every other Friday at the Atascadero State Mental Hospital, a huge place for the criminally insane. And I would go and play piano. We had our own Christian school. I helped start, and then I ran, and then I directed our preschool and children's church program I developed. I used a $20 semi bag. It was red and old, and we turned that part into a stage where it would go over the wheels, and curtains, and we had tables that were donated from a fabric store, and costumes in there, and art supplies. And so 5 nights a week or so, out of diapers through 7th grade, I would do children's church also in the evenings. We went into the fishing business with old boats that our guys would fix up, and eventually we even had a 76-foot old World War II boat and a 60-foot boat, and we had a little fleet. And a lot of the guys were fishermen, and some of the newer people, if they seemed responsible, we would invest in their fishing license, and it was a real hit and miss sort of a income, but when it was good, it was really good. It was a very full and rich life. We had a lot of wonderful times. When you live with people and we lived with the same people we went to church with, that we worked with, that we helped this continual influx of people. And when you do that, you find you probably don't get along with people that well in yourself. But when you pray up and go to church and the Lord blesses you, you really are just fueled up once again with that love for people. And that's the way it went on. I think for me, one of the greatest things was that all you had to do was go out of the house, out the door of your little rooms, and you could say hello to all these new people off the road. And if you remembered their name, all the better. And it was just great to bless and enrich people's lives like that. So I would recommend, and I've often recommended to my former students here from Appleton, to take some time in your young adulthood as you feel led to reach out and be in some kind of ministry and help people and get a different perspective and grow in Christ and put your money where your mouth is, sort of thing.